Assalamu alaikum. Hey everyone. So, greetings. Welcome to my page. I am Kiddis. To all my family and friends, they call me Leah, Sister Leah, what have you, Empress, what have you. So, I don't know how many people have been following me, or because I know I have a lot of new friends on Facebook. But one of the things that I've been dealing with, because I've been going through a lot of challenges, but one of the things I've been recently dealing with is back in July, I had a serious fall where I was crossing the street, and I had oh wow, Facebook is doing some different things here. Okay, crossing the street downtown Washington, and the streets in DC are really, 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 really terrible. I was crossing the street, and then I had stepped into a pothole, but because I was trying to be conscientious, instead of me looking down or what have you, I was looking at the oncoming traffic, and I landed into this pothole where it was big enough for my foot to fit in, but small enough for cars to drive over, and it was no issue. So I stepped in this pothole and just like bam, landed flat, face down on the ground. Busted my knee. I mean, I like blew it out, and not only blew it out, but this tooth right here completely had fallen out my mouth. I knocked it out. That's how hard I landed in the concrete. I just went bam, and you could hear it. You could hear a crack, what have you. So I knew immediately, kind of like, because I was still able to get up and walk. I immediately, I did the rice, and I knew I had to do something. So luckily at home, I had, my products that I use, which is for like joint relief. And so this is not my a commercial or anything, but I just kind of just tell you what I did. So I went home, I rice, right, which is rest, ice, compression, elevate. And then I took one of my joint relief because I knew that would help with the cartilage and the healing. So just to tell you like how it's like the whole medical industry is like a real money racket. So I went to my doctor, and she made me go to a orthopedic surgeon, and I was kind of asking her. Well, I was like, well, I could tell it wasn't that bad. I was like, I knew I would need like physical therapy, and as long as I erased it, because I could start feeling the healing. So she was like, no, 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 you have to go to the orthopedic surgeon. So I go to the orthopedic surgeon. So I had to pay him money. So he basically did what my doctor did, looked at my knee, had me do some movements, poke and prod, and nothing really happened. He was like, okay, I don't see anything wrong. Okay, I'm telling you what's wrong. So he's like, okay, well, you're gonna have to get an X-ray. I'm like, okay. I said, well, the X-ray's not gonna see anything. And he was like, well, you have to get an X-ray first because your insurance won't pay for you to get an MRI. I was like, well, you're not gonna see anything on my injuries for an X-ray because this is muscle and cartilage and all that, and X-rays don't see that. So they made me get an X-ray. So for that, I had to pay, I don't know, a couple of $100s for that. And I was like, okay. And so I went back to him, had to pay him again to go see him, for him to tell me he couldn't see anything on the X-ray. And I was like, I know. And then turn around and tell me, now I'm going to schedule you an MRI. I went to get my MRI. On the spot, they were like telling me my copay alone, not even what they charged me, but my copay alone was then $200 for the MRI. And by this time is ticking. So my injury happened July 7th. So now I had to go to my primary doctor, who wasn't going to do anything, and I already knew it, but I had to go see her, who then sent me to an orthopedic surgeon who I knew wasn't going to do anything because I had to get an MRI for him to do anything. But for him to get me an MRI, I had to go get an X-ray. So that's an orthopedic surgeon, then an X-ray, And then I went to get the MRI. For the MRI, just to say what I told him from the beginning, what was wrong with me. Now, his prescription for me today, which I told my doctor from day one, I need to get physical therapy to help me work through this pain, because I already knew what it was, because I was able to walk. I iced it. I was taking my It Works relief, so I knew I was already on doing what I needed to do to recover, but I just needed that extra help. So today I went back to the orthopedic surgeon, who I had to now again pay another copay. So that was my doctor copay, the um, the orthopedic surgeon copay, the the X-ray copay, the MRI, back to the orthopedic surgeon copay, back to the MRI a copay. Now for him to go to the orthopedic surgeon again, that's 6 times going to a doctor for them to tell me now I got to go to physical therapy, and then I don't have to come back to any of them until the physical therapy is done. It is such a money racket. The pharmaceutical industry, the medical industry, Big Pharma. So I spent, I don't know, close to almost over $1,000 for a knee injury that happened a couple of months, where what I needed from day one was just plain old physical therapy. And if I felt confident enough to do it, and I was trying little things on my own, I was researching it, ice, elevating, a little bit of exercises that I remember doing before, but I never had a knee injury. But I kind of remember some of the things they did for my daughter, but I really wanted that help, that extra help. It took me going to the doctor 6 times to get all these crazy tests and this and that, for them to do exactly what I knew I needed to do, was get physical therapy in the first place, and just to continue to do the rice. And I'm doing my supplements. I'm doing the relief. I'm doing a turmeric rub, and it's just like so amazing to me. So I'm trying to figure out, what is it that we can do to make some changes with this, because especially with Trump back in, he is doing everything he can to go to reverse everything back to the way it was. And I'm just like so frustrated, because me personally, I don't make a lot of money. I'm blessed that I am able to do this, but to pay almost $500 in copay alone, just and for them to do something that was not necessary, it just, to me, it's just like they're making money off of us for no reason. And there got to be some kind of like um, lobbying or something we can do, but it's just really, 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 really frustrating me. Um, so I know for my goal is, I'm trying to figure out how I can make a change, because that's just crazy for no reason. Um, but if you have a knee injury, you're gonna have to. It's just like, even if you know what you need to do, they're gonna make you go through all this jumping up and down through hoops for no reason. So I'm going to see how my recovery is going to go now. I found a natural way of making a paste to put on my knee. And um, did I report it to the city? No, because the thing was, for me to do that, I had to go through all these doctors first, because I pulled the paperwork for the city how to report it. So I have to go through all the doctors. So now that I'm in physical therapy, I'll pull up all of my like all my bills, and then I have to write a statement. I already took a picture of the street. I took a picture of the street sign. Um, I notated it with all my doctors, the date that it happened and what have you. So now I got to put all that paperwork together to send to the city. Um, and yeah, that is definitely the city's fault, because I shouldn't have to go through all this for nothing. So between the city and the shoddy streets, and just the medical industry just making so much crazy money off of us, I'm just like really frustrated. and it was really for no reason. And I know I can't even imagine what my medical bills are going to be like. And the only thing they could tell me was it's just going to take time, which I already knew. The muscles, it wasn't quite ripped. I think they call it a MCL or something like that. It's ripped, but it's not to the point where it's like or it's torn. It's torn, so it's not removed from. I guess I don't know how your muscles are attached to the back of your leg, but it was enough to cause a lot of pain. So I'm still dealing with that. None of the knee part is floating, but it still is locking, so it needs like physical therapy. So they told me to continue what I'm doing, but I was like, I told them what I was doing, and they were just like, basically, their medical advice was what I told them what I was doing. It was like, keep doing what you're doing and go through physical therapy. It's just like it's such a racket. See a lawyer? I don't know if I want to see a lawyer because I can do with the city. I can just submit that paperwork. I don't know. I'll think about that. Because a lawyer, that's another racket I'm not into. Because I've done the lawyer thing, and basically by the time I had gotten, I think I was like a $10,000 settlement, I only got like 2,000, so I was not into that. Yes, it was a meniscus tear. That's what it was. They see that was the issue when I asked for the MRI initially because the way my insurance is set up because I'm with Care First. I think that's what they're called, Care First. It was a requirement that I had to go get an x-ray and these other things first, and I only could get that done through an orthopedic clinic. So the insurance had it set up where I had to go through all these different doctors in order to get the MRI, so which was really ridiculous. Otherwise, my insurance wouldn't have paid for anything. So I don't know. We just got to be mindful with the medical insurance and what have you because it is a real racket. And I know like mine recently changed and like a lot of the coverage that I was getting before, they have pulled back. I'm not getting as much coverage as I used to get, and I'm paying it was more expensive. So now I had to pull back my insurance and get a more affordable insurance. And it was just like, and then I had to raise the price of my flexible spending account just so that I could afford all the copays. And thank goodness I did that because I don't know, these copays would just kill me if I had to pay them straight out on top of all my other expenses. So, I'm gonna see how it goes. So, hopefully by next week, I'll have my physical therapy. I'm gonna see how the healing process goes, and I don't know. I don't know how the copay is going to be with the physical therapist. I don't know. Maybe I can go just to a couple of them and do it on my own, and continue what I'm doing at home for like my holistic treatment. But it's a little frustrating, but I'll see. But I just wanted to get on here and just kind of do like an update because I know I have been sharing with everybody what was going on, but I didn't really get into the detail of like the whole doctor's visit and how all that going because I was getting a little frustrated and I didn't want to get on here and just start like ranting like a crazy lady. But today, now that I have the final prescription to do the physical therapy, now I'm going to just see how well I heal. Because right now, like when I sit for too long or what have you, my knee locks up. And they're stating is not something I should be concerned about, but I am concerned about it because they wanted to give me a cortisone shot. And I was like, nah, you're not going to numb my pain so I don't know if I'm healing well. Let me feel the pain so I can gauge it like that. Because that was the first thing he wanted to do was shoot some cortisone in my knee. And I was like, nah, mm-mm. Because I made that mistake of doing it one time before when I had plantar fasciitis. And I thought and I did more damage to my feet. Just now, now I'm just getting to the point where my feet don't hurt anymore, which is crazy because, I just figured out what I needed to do properly. So I definitely left that cortisone alone. I don't know. I don't know if I have a case. Do you think I have a case? I did step into a pothole. I don't know. Maybe I'll ask. I have a couple of lawyer friends. Maybe I do have a case. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, you all have a great one. So I'm going to keep you posted on what I'm doing on my how you call it, meniscus on my meniscus tear and on my knee and on the locking, on the physical therapy, on the supplements that I'm going to be taking, and I have a paste that I'm learning to make. So I'm going to be doing this turmeric paste that's going to place on it. And I will look into a lawyer and I'll let you know how the case goes against the city because that was really kind of negligent on their part to leave a pothole like that, big enough for a patron to fall in the crosswalk. So we'll see. Anyway, you all have a blessed night. Talk to you later. Peace. Assalamu alaikum.